Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti. Chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti Yoga talks about seeing divine in the list that he is giving. We have covered up to verse 26 and we are in 27, 28. Before we go into the verses, a quick recap of what we have been studying till now in the context of Bakti. In order to understand Bhakti, the spiritual path, you need to understand what is the cause for the human weakness. The reason for human weakness is all the desires, passions of a human being. Why it is designed like that, we don't know. That's how it is naturally designed to draw one downwards. All desires, all passions, you can name it, you can give any good name, whatever word you want to give, you can give to it and convince yourself. But the reality is, the reason for all human weaknesses is the desires and passions draw a human being downwards. Conversely, also there is a law. If this is law number one, the law number two is there is no such naturally endowed passion to lift a human being upwards. There is so many things that pulls a human being downwards, and literally nothing seems to be there to push a human being upwards. From this, what do we understand? From this, what do you understand? Certain corollaries we derive from this. The first corollary, if you just stand still and not do anything, what will happen to you? If you are standing still and not doing anything, what happens to you? You will automatically slip downwards. You don't have to do anything to go down. You just stay quiet, that's all. Simply stay quiet, not doing anything, you will automatically slip downwards. Adho gachanti tamasaha, 16th chapter. You don't do anything, you automatically slip downwards. And when you go downwards, it's not a slide. Huh? How do you go downwards? When you go downwards, how do you go downwards? It's not like a parachute descent. It's not like slide. How do you go downwards? Slipping and stumbling, balti, isn't it? You know what the local language they call as balti? When you go down, that's how you don't gradually slide down. It's not like a slide. It is a stumble. It's like the rolling over. That's how you that's how you go down. That's how you fall. The whole life of a human being, one decides for oneself to go on this path. All human beings make a decision to take to this path. Nobody tells you from outside, take to this path. Every single individual, educated, uneducated, literate, illiterate, CEO, watchman, doesn't make any difference. All human beings make a decision to go down this path. And when you go down, the mind always says you have not gone that far enough. So you have to still go further down. And what is the end point of that down? God only knows. And the human being is just going down and down and down. And there are a million things that we have devised to aid the Balti. Balti na enna solradhu English la? Ram Subramaniam. Somersault. Okay. Maybe she's bulting all the time. Okay. Even before I concluded, she said it rightly. Maybe she's bulting all the time. Somersault. And there is a whole system of arrangements the human beings make for oneself and for others to descend, to go down. This is what we call as better life. This is what we call as goal, aim, ambition, better life. We do it for ourselves. We do it for others. We do it for our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and continue the legacy of Balti. Continue the legacy. There is a whole lot of arrangement helping you to go down. And you say, I want to go up. Suddenly everybody vanishes, disappears. Again, another corollary from this. When you say, I want to go down, there is a whole lot of a system that is aiding you to go down. You say, I want to go up, and look around. No. Even the closest person will drop you. And why? Because they have made plans for further somersault. And you say, I'm going to stop it. Who's interested in this? This is the human dilemma. The duel that a human being has to fight. What is the fight? One thing in the human being urges to go upwards, and he constantly make arrangements to go downwards. This duel is the human dilemma. You yourself will have to go up that path. When there is a system that brings you down, when there is a whole lot of things that brings you down, and when you have to go up, you have to go up by yourself. And when you go up by yourself, you need strength. You need some strength. You are going up by yourself. That is the right action you are doing to go up. But you need strength, energy, motivation to do that action continuously, to keep going. Where will you get that energy, strength from? This is where Bhakti comes in so beautifully. Bhakti relevance. What is the relevance of Bhakti in the whole scheme? Are you able to follow? No arrangement is there to lift you up, while there are millions of arrangements to bring you down. Every time you descend, you are in a state of like a trance kind of a state it is. Every fall is like so trance it is. And so addictive that downfall is, the human being wants to go for that fall again and again and again. It's addictive. The lower is so addictive. The gross is so addictive. And how much ever you can talk about the higher, and like Ramatirtha says, after the end of the lecture, the dog asks, where is my bone? So after the lecture, fantastic lecture, I appreciate the lecture. Every week you are saying some new stories, very good. But at the end of the lecture, where is my bone? You talk on the futility of a bone to the dog. What is in a bone? Dry. That's why it's called bone dry, no? Bone nali dry, isn't it? There's no such thing called bone dry. But then just to make it clear, we say bone dry. And the dog bites the bone. And when it bites, it bleeds. And it tastes the blood. And it tastes the blood. And what the dog believes, what is the dog believing that continues to, that makes the dog bite the bone harder? It believes the blood is coming from the bone. More it bites, more it bleeds. This is the dilemma. This is the somersault. So you discuss all this to a dog. The dog will understand this lecture. The dog will understand this lecture. The dog will appreciate this lecture. After the lecture is over, it will ask, all that you said in the class and all is very good, sir, but for today, practically give me the bone for today. Tomorrow and all, we will see all this lectures, falling, tumbling down, bulty, somersault, all that we will see tomorrow. But for today, problem, sir, practically give me a bone. Why? Because to go up is a very hard work. You lose motivation very fast. You lose inspiration very fast. You lose motivation very fast, and you look around for support. Nobody is there to support. Not only nobody is there to support, everybody around you also tells you, you yourself is doubting whether you want to go up or not. You yourself in half mind. You yourself is in half mind. And you look around others. Others also will tell you, don't take to this path, come down. So what will happen? You keep coming down. Where does Bhakti come in? This is the relevance of Bhakti. Venkat, in full of Bhakti Yoga Pattinam lecture. Our 10th chapter will come. Text go on, sir. What is the element of the text? Don't tell me after the class. So I have to, with Venkatji's permission, we are continuing the class. Shailesh, okay, no? Okay. Because, we have to take permission from all wise people here, and then only you have to move. You need inspiration, motivation, energy to walk up. Where do you get it from? Not from human beings, anything and everything other than human beings. Carefully follow now. The problem is starting. Not from human beings, but anything and everything other than human beings aids you, supports you. That is called Vibhuti Yoga. That is the Vibhuti Yoga. Because you look at another human being, you will also feel like taken to that path. That's why all great men go into isolation for a while. Temporarily, they go into an isolation for a while. Isolation means without human contact, that's all. They will contact everything else except a human being. And human contact is so toxic. Nowadays, they use the word, no? It's toxic. Toxic environment, sir. Yeah. Human contact, no, toxic. Why? Because everybody is going downwards. And you need to lift yourself up. Where will you get the energy from? Where will you get the strength from? To keep doing the right action. Bhakti helps. This is why first 6 chapters he spoke about action, and now he's talking about bhakti that aids the action. So the invisible force that brings energy and motivation to your action is bhakti. And people have not understood the context, people have not understood what bhakti is and what is the relevance of bhakti is. If that is not understood, 10th and 11th chapter, in fact, the whole 7 to 12 itself will look very, very illogical if you don't understand it in the way that we are discussing now. Now we'll enter into, now that we have discussed the problem, how bhakti is helping us out is what we are going to analyze now. Bhakti nane analyze பண்ணக்கூடாது, அந்த பக்தியை we sit and analyze. Okay, what to do now? Bhakti itself means, it's a feeling, you just go. But again, human being cannot go like that and all. Why? Because the doubting mind, the doubting mind keeps asking questions again and again and again. And the doubting mind is what? What is this doubting mind? Mullah Nasruddin went to a barber shop. Remember this story? Mullah Nasruddin went to a barber shop to have a shave. He got the shaving done. How much? 50 paisa. So he gave the barber, he didn't have change, so he gave him 1 rupee. The barber said, I don't have change, come tomorrow, I will give the change. His mind started working. What guarantee is there this fellow will give it tomorrow? That's how the doubting mind works. No. He says, I'll give you tomorrow. What guarantee is there? Supposing if this fellow dies tonight, if the fellow doesn't open the shop tomorrow, so the doubting mind started. Supposing he changes the shop tomorrow and becomes a sweet shop, yesterday I came for the shave, he will laugh at you, isn't it? What do you mean? I am selling sweets and you came. So this is how the doubting mind works. Are you able to follow? Raj, Purida. This is how doubting mind works. And then he said, okay, now he wanted to find a solution. What is the solution that he wanted to find? He wants something stable, so that stability will give him the conviction that he can come tomorrow and take the 50 paisa back from the. So he looked around to see what can be done. There is a buffalo sleeping in front of the shop. And buffaloes don't move like that, no? So he said, now buffalo became the landmark. So for the barber shop, now the immovable buffalo became the landmark. So he went home. Next morning, he came. He saw the buffalo sitting in front of Adayar Ananda Bhavan. Barber shop is gone. It is sitting in. He said, his mind is convinced. What is the conviction now? See, I told you, this will happen yesterday itself. What? For 50 paisa, the barber will change the profession itself. So he went into the store and held the owner by throat. He said, Form, how shameful you are. For 50 paisa, you changed your profession overnight. What happened? What happened in the night? The buffalo crossed the road. The buffalo crossed the road and slept in front of the sweet shop. This is how doubting mind will work and come to its own conclusions also. Mullah Nasruddin is not a fool. Understand that. No, he is not a fool. He's only saying how the doubting mind works. This doubting mind pulls you down, brings you down. So bhakti is that which prevents you from getting into this doubting thing. Again, otherwise the mind keeps doubting again and again and again. Every time the mind doubts, you have to give a proof. And every time you give a proof, what happens? Anybody? Mind is doubting, you give a proof. Next time, what happens to the mind? Doubt goes, huh? The intensity of the doubting increases. The strength of the doubt goes on increasing. The intensity of the doubt goes on increasing. இதுதான் downward bultன்றது இல்லையா? This is how the human being comes down. What bhakti does? First thing, bhakti says vibhuti yoga. Now we are connecting it to is vibhuti yoga. Why? What is it that is considered a God, divine? Because we have studied already. And we are all cousins of Krishna sitting here, isn't it? Cousins of Krishna and Shankaracharya sitting here. We have studied already and we know what we know already. Everything is divine. Everything is divine. All are divine. There is only one thing that exists is divine. We know all that. And still, why is that? What is it that is considered a God? Carefully understand the definition. Everything is divine because everything comes out of the divine. A few knows this fact, rest of the humanity doesn't know this fact. Again, I repeat, a very few knows this fact, rest of the humanity doesn't know this fact. The stone, the tree, the river, the mountain, the sky, all are divine only. Each atom is divine. The Sanskrit word devata means that which is divine. The Sanskrit word devata means that which is deva, that which is illuminating, bright, divine. Then why if divine is there everywhere, then why a few things is designated as God in a special sense? Why he is taking up a list of things and he is saying, this is me, this is me, this is me. It means this. It is not only divine, but also leads you to divinity. Again, I repeat, it's not only divine, it leads you to divinity. So anything that leads you to divinity will be called specially, it will be given a special designation as God. Are you able to follow the definition? Why it is called like that? It's not only divine, it leads you to divinity. One who turns others to divinity. One who indicates the divine is God. There is divinity everywhere, but it doesn't help you, it doesn't help me, it doesn't help anybody. So what is the actual help? Not only it is divine, it leads the others to divinity. One who turns others to divine. One who can indicate what the divine is. One who can turn our longing for divinity. Now we are longing the lower and going down. Divine is that which can redirect that longing. Instead of the longing for going down, it redirects the longing for the divine. That is why the sages say the Guru is God. There was no other reason for this. There is no other reason for calling a Guru as God. If one is reminded by looking at the sky of God, the sky becomes your Guru. If you look at the tree and the tree reminds you of divine, the tree becomes your Guru. So anything that reminds you of divine, That's why when other religious people read the Vedas and all this, even this list, when they have read for the first time, they would have been thinking, what madness is this? To call existing things, non-existing things, weird things and all as me, as me, as me. Because he's not saying this is God. He's not saying this is God. He's saying this is me. This is me. This is me. It means what? Anything becomes a God through whom divinity is remembered. If anything that helps you to remain divine, it becomes God. That's why Dattatreya said, I had 27 gurus. Ant I learned, the serpent I learned, the peacock I learned, the brook I learned. Because all these reminds you of the divine. Therefore, what does he do? So what he does, he takes up a few things like this, which helps you to remember the divine. From this, you understand what is bhakti, what is prayer, a remembrance of the divine. Okay? Are you okay till now? Okay. If you don't remember the divine, what are you existing as? Ego. Egoistic remembrance of divine is not possible. Commissioner, புரியுதா? இப்படிலாம் நடக்காது இல்லையா? Egoistic reminder of divine, it's not possible. If you remember the divine, ego goes out. If you forget the divine, what you exist as? Ego. At least have the honesty to say, I will exist as the ego and I will suffer. At least take that. At least have the strength to say, I will exist as the ego and I will suffer and I will not cry about suffering. But then you will exist as the ego, and when the consequences of ego comes, you will cry. Bhakti is a transformation. What is the transformation? It reminds you of, you are constantly remembering the divine. Why you need reminders is because you have a tendency to forget. Remember when we went into chapter 10, that's how we introduced. You need reminders because you have a tendency to forget. Why you have a tendency to forget? Because there are 1,000 things that you have plans. There are 1,000 things that you have already accumulated, already got used to go down. Yeah, already you have mastered those techniques to go down, and suddenly to leave those techniques and climb up. Yeah, they say uphill task, isn't it? And that uphill task, bhakti makes it so pleasant. That uphill task, bhakti makes it so pleasant because it is so motivating, it is so inspiring, it is so energizing. What is bhakti, prayer, remembrance? All are one and the same. You can say bhakti, prayer, remembrance, all are used very synonymously here. So what is bhakti yoga? Anything and everything that helps you to remind you of the divine. Invariably, what people understand as bhakti is what? People understand bhakti means I will live an adharmic life of going down and down and down, and God's responsibility is to save you and protect you, isn't it? Again, I repeat. The biggest misunderstanding of bhakti is I will live an adharmic life. I will live an adharmic life of krodha, lobha, mada, matsarya, bhaya, dvesha, and all these emotions of yours, you have a legitimacy to it also. You feel your anger has legitimacy. You feel your dvesha has legitimacy. You feel your jealous has legitimacy. All the negative things, you feel that there is a legitimacy towards it. You talk to anybody, they will say how their anger is legitimate. So if you see a corrupt politician, how can you not get answer? When you see things, oh, you will have 1,000 things to legitimize your anger, your greed, your hatred, your jealousy, your corruption. The indication of you having convinced going down is right. What is the indication? There is an indication that you are convinced that going down is right when you ask one question in life. Remember this always. Vijay, in the Kelvi Geta, you are convinced in going down is the way of life. What is the question? How is it that dishonest and bad people are happy and prosperous, sir? If you are asking this question in life, you are convinced that going down is the right way to live. Because you are genuinely convinced that a person can be dishonest and be happy. That's why you are asking. Are you able to follow? That day you understand this, oh my God. Vibhuti Yoga, Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga and all will start speaking so differently to you. The so-called honesty people come and ask, isn't it? Why do we call so-called honest people? Because they believe that they are honest and they are suffering. Pseudo-honest people vana solla. Correct? Pseudo-honesty, pseudo-Vedanti, ellam pseudo than, duplicate than. And duplicates are always more attractive than the original. Yeah, but that's how it is. Wherever you go, they keep asking this one question. What is that question? I'm a very honest and sincere and dedicated good person, sir. I am suffering. This fellow is dishonest, corrupt, bad, and they are prosperous. It means deep inside you, there is a conviction. What is the conviction? That you can be treacherous, dishonest, corrupt, and you can be happy. Not only that, why God is not punishing them? Second question. First of all, you are convinced that it is happiness can be got through that way also. Second question is, why is God not punishing them, sir? So much of akrama is happening in this world, isn't it? So much of akrama is happening in this world, and where is your God sleeping? God is not sleeping. God says, you have made 1,000 plans to go down. What can I do? You have made a plan after plan after plan. You are making every day to keep going down and down and down, individually, collectively. When all of you are all doing like that, he says, what can I do? 13th chapter, he says, I witness it, he says. I simply stand apart and see you going down and down and down. One day you will come on. It is an indication that the conviction in dharma, the conviction in divine hasn't come yet. The moment you have developed the conviction in divine and dharma, it will be very clear to you. You cannot brainwash yourself to say this. You cannot hypnotize yourself to see that. To say this. What? Corrupt, dishonest, treacherous, and happiness cannot coexist. Bhakti brings about this conviction. Bhakti brings about this conviction. Therefore, Bhakti is not shifting your responsibility to God of protecting you while you are living an adharmic life. Are you able to understand the connection? You live an adharmic life and shifting the responsibility to God. And then complain, God is not. And then complain, God is not saving me, God is not protecting me. Prayer means, bhakti means it's so profound that you are lost in it. You means the ego is completely lost in it. Then only it is prayer. The ego standing erect, it is worshipping not divine, it is worshipping the ego. That's why the Upanishad says all human beings are ego worshippers. Upanishad says, very powerful word. Upanishad says all human beings are worshippers of ego only. And if worshipping the divine is going to make my ego more erect, the ego will not bother about doing pranams to divine also. Why? Because at the end of the day, we are ego worshippers. Prayer shifts the attention from ego to divine. It means a few important things has to be understood about bhakti. A few formulas, a few rules for bhakti. Bhakti is a discipline. That's why I said bhakti means going uphill. Bhakti is not natural. If bhakti is natural, then why do we have to sit and study, do all this? We all must be seeing divine already. Bhakti is not natural. It's effort. It means certain disciplines has to be followed, certain things has to be rightly understood. Having defined bhakti and the role of bhakti and all that, now we'll understand the few sutras, the few formulas that goes into bhakti. There are a few formulas that you should remember. Remember this while we are studying 10th chapter, 11th chapter, Bhakti Yoga, etc. The first formula is this. Bhakti is a demonstration of humility. Bhakti means humility. Bhakti means recognizing the limitations, the helplessness. That is bhakti. The first thing about bhakti is no ego. Remember this. It is that egolessness that is helping you. It doesn't matter which deity you are praying. People believe you have to pray to a particular deity to lift you up. First thing in bhakti you understand is what? It's not the deity that it is doing that. The deity is a representative of the divine. In front of the divine, you are making an effort to nullify your. In front of the divine, you are making an effort to nullify the ego. Are you able to follow? So the first thing that you understand is what very clearly? Prayer means goodbye to ego. When you say goodbye to ego, then that is called prayer, bhakti. There cannot be bhakti if ego is remaining intact. You understand? Bhakti is a demonstration of what? I have been doing so many things with clarity, thinking I know what I am doing. Again, I repeat, human being has the ego to say, I know what I am doing is your downfall. I know what I am doing is the downfall. So many times you have known what you are doing. What is the consequence of all the doing? it only took you downwards. It means you didn't know. So bhakti is a recognition of that. Are you okay till now? The first sutra, the first formula of bhakti is what? No ego. And ego is so cunning, it will become egoistic by saying, I don't want to have an ego. That's why the human ego is so cunning that it will become egoistic out of its own humility also. It will become so humble and it will say, nobody can be as humble as I am, sir. I am a very humble person. The first formula of bhakti is say goodbye to ego. When you have said goodbye to ego, there's only one thing that you can do. What? You don't know. And when you say you don't know, what is left with? What are you left with? When you say I have no ego, what are you left with? Surrender. What are you left with? When you say I don't know, what is the option available then? Surrender. This is called Sharanagati, surrender. And people say it is blind faith, sir. We should not have this kind of a blind faith. And Vedanta is also against this blind faith, no? Oh, correct. If you say no ego as blind faith, if you say no ego as blind faith, Isavas Upanishads, don't worry. Winding path you have, it says. They have a long winding path. You will go round and round and round to come back. Winding path is very simple, isn't it? Winding path means you can touch your nose like this. This is not the winding path. What does winding path means? You put it, kaiye varad, isn't it? Hand won't even reach, isn't it? இப்போ ட்ரை பண்ணாதவங்க சர்க்கஸ் ஷோ மாதிரி இருக்கும் இல்லையா? ட்ரை when you are in the bathroom alone. இது டைரக்ட் பாத், இது வைண்டிங் பாத் ஃபார் த பர்சன் ஹூ சேஸ் சரண்டர் இஸ் blind faith. Upanishad will say, yeah, correct, it is blind faith only. Take some more? No time. Winding path. So the first formula of bhakti is what? Goodbye to ego. Are you okay? The second formula for bhakti now. What is the second formula for bhakti? Human being depend too much on themselves. I always say this, no? I am a self-made person, sir. I am a self-made. When you say you are a self-made man, what are you actually saying? You are your father. You know that? When you say I am a self-made person, what are you actually saying? There is no positivity, all that people, this is another method of going down. In the positivity, what has happened? Nothing has happened. No, it means there is no positivity at all in it. Self-made. No, this is the positive way of, this is how you should feel, that self-pride, self-respect, self-motivation, ella ego respect, self-respect na ego respect, self-motivation na ego motivation. Vedanta Bhakti comes and says it's all exactly the opposite. So what is the second formula for bhakti? The second formula for bhakti is when you believe you are a self-made human being, you exhaust yourself and you injure yourself. All human beings are exhausted because of this. What is the exhaustion? In English, there's a very beautiful thing they say. Try to lift yourself up with your shoelace. Trying to lift yourself up with your shoelace. What will happen? What will happen? Coma, isn't it? You will fall down and you will get into, and yet that's how the human being behaves. Second indication, second formula of bhakti is self-made person. You are not self-made person. You are supported by the divine. You are supported by the infinite. The infinite divine is supporting you. That's why that infinite is called direct support and indirect support. The direct support and indirect support is supporting you all so much. Ignoring all the support, the human being says, the ego says, I am self-made, sir. The path of knowledge opens to you. That's why after karma and bhakti comes knowledge. 13th chapter in the knowledge verse. The path of knowledge opens up to you only when you can say, I don't know. Such a person who can say, I don't know from the core of the heart has taken the first step towards right knowledge. And one who says, I know, is like this. A bucket full of holes. And when that bucket full of holes is inside the well, how it looks? Bucket full of holes inside the well, how it looks? Full of water, isn't it? It's full of water. It looks like it's full of water. You draw the bucket out of the well. By the time it reaches your hands, it's empty. You look at your hands, life always shows that it's empty. There is a bank balance, there is a house, there are people around you, nothing is lost, and yet you feel, and yet it's like a bucket full of holes. Why is this suffering? You become light as soon as the ego is removed. Okay, take a simple example. A simple example is the water has a unique, very unique thing. The very unique thing of the water is it will drown the living and float the dead. Ram Subramaniam, purida? Kekada kadala? Water, river, it has something. It will drown the living and float to the dead. Actually, water is not doing anything. Do you understand? Water is not doing anything. In the very struggle, you drown yourself. And then you die. No struggle. And water does it natural thing. What? It brings up to the surface and you start floating. All that you got to do is what? Learn to float, not to drown. And drowning you do. And everybody drowns themselves. And how do they drown themselves? Self-made person, sir. Each and every brick in this wall is my hard work. Either my hard work or my father's hard work or my grandfather's hard work. But definitely it happened because of some ego without the aid of. Have you ever found the pride with which the human being talks about their sufferings and they came up in life? Has anybody ever said, I am so blessed that I got up to life in this position? Has anybody said that? Nobody will say that. Everybody will say, I studied under street light. I walked to school. I had no food. Oh, all this is food for what? You think you are trying to inspire somebody? No. You think you are trying to motivate somebody? No. What is happening here? Simple statement of ego. A simple statement of ego. Bhakti turns it around so completely. What does Bhakti say? I am today is because I had everything. I had everything today where I am because I never lacked in anything. That day you can say, I never lacked in anything. When you look at your past, if you say, I never lacked in anything, you have developed some bhakti, you are qualified for knowledge. Why are we studying all this? So that we get qualified for knowledge. Even now we have knowledge, but the knowledge is not sinking in. Now we are saying, what if we remove those blocks, knowledge will sink in. These are the blocks that we are trying to remove by bhakti. Are you able to follow? So, it's ego always glorifies its sufferings. Because ego can never say, I am blessed. Because if ego says, I am blessed, it has no place to stand. No. I had everything. I'm blessed. Means your effort looks so meaningless there. Your effort will look meaningful only when you say, I struggled. That's why even the fellow who didn't struggle also says, I struggled. Hard work, sir. I worked very hard. And for that hard work, how many sacrifices I have to make? Listen to the autobiography of every human being. It's the same story. Nothing changes. Second thing about ego is what? You become light. Clinging to your ego drowns you. Clinging to the ego is the journey to hell. Clinging to the ego is the journey to hell. And all human beings are clinging on to the ego and they want to go to heaven. Correct. They will not want to let go of the ego, but they will want. Try one more method. Yeah, we keep trying. Another new methods we keep trying. Formula number 3. Formula number 1 is goodbye to ego. Formula number 2 is I am not a self-made person. I am here because of the divine. Second. Third. Prayer, bhakti is not only the acceptance of ignorance, but also the acceptance of helplessness. It is that it is that utter helplessness that makes a human being truly humble. In those moments of utter helplessness only you become truly humble. The very declaration that I am helpless, you have found the solution. You don't understand that. The very understanding that I am helpless, the very declaration that I am, not only I am ignorant, I am helpless. And life teaches you, so many situations it teaches you how you are utterly helpless, and the ego doesn't learn a lesson out of it. The ego somehow tries to raise the head. Human being is a very strange animal. We say don't behave like an animal. Animals talk, don't be like a human being. When animals talk amongst themselves, if the child monkey is misbehaving, what the mother monkey will tell? If the child monkey is misbehaving, what the mother monkey will tell? Boy, human being mar behave pandriya. How can you behave? How can you be like a human being? Because the ego's cunningness has no limits. If it can become very arrogant in bhakti also, now what do you do? If humility is the reason to become very arrogant, what is the way out then? You follow? Therefore, the third formula, prayer is an acceptance of helplessness. Formula number 4, prayer is not a claim. Prayer is not an announcement of entitlement to God. I have prayed you so many times to me, so many times to you. I have done all this to you. Therefore, you give this to me in return. Bhakti is not an announcement of your entitlement. What all you are entitled to, you don't make an announcement about that. That is not bhakti. To claim nothing is the essence of bhakti. That's why it's called prasada buddhi. It's called prasada buddhi. The divine grace is continuously reigning. It is so perpetual that you don't have to make an announcement of what you are entitled to. It is there already. When it is there already, what are you going and what are you claiming when it is there? When it is there already. Formula number 4. Formula number 5. Prayer is not a flattery to God. Because we believe that if you want to get things done from human beings, what do? If you want to get things from a human being, the most grossest technique, the most cheapest technique, and it works 100% all the time, is what? Flattery. Flattery. How everybody can fall for this flattery is, see, you also know that it is not truth. The other person saying it also know that it is not truth, and yet it works. So carrying the same notion, we believe that prayer means, bhakti means flattery to God. So I go and flatter God by saying you are great, you are this, you are that, and then give the list. Why? Because now that God is flattered, before he changes God, before God changes his mind, you quickly give him the list. To show grace is prayer. Prayer is so graceful. Bhakti is grace. What is grace? There's no flattery there. It's a simple recognition of the divine. Remembrance, recognition of the divine. Formula number 6. Divine means ascharya, wonderment. Ascharya, wonderment. Whenever you temporarily realize your insignificance, those are the blissful moments of your life. If you ever experienced, if you look back at your own life, what are the wow moments in your life? You temporarily recognized your insignificance in front of something huge, vast, big. Temporarily you recognize how insignificant you are. Those are the bhakti is the 24/7 you are in that mood. 24/7 you are in that state. You are in that blessed state. What is that blessed state? That's that blessed state of ascharya, wonderment. Anything big is so inspiring. Why? It's so so beautiful. Even before you can soak in that, the ego comes back alive. Even before you can soak in that egolessness state, the ego comes back. And when the ego comes back, it comes back and says, what? The ego comes back and then it says, the fact that I am recognizing this beauty means how great I should be. என்னத்த சொல்றது இந்த ஈகோ வச்சுக்கிட்டு? இவ்வளவு ஈகோ இருக்கிறவங்ககிட்ட தான் யூ ஆர் த செல்ஃப், தத்துவமசி, அகம் பிரம்மாஸ்மி, சந்நியாசா என்னெல்லாமோ பேச வேண்டியிருக்குது. It becomes like a Tom and Jerry show. This Vedanta class is like a Tom and Jerry cartoon show. It is. Because the ego quickly bounces back. Even before you can soak in that, the ego takes over. That's why I call it as temporary moments. You remember the story of Mahabali, no? Remember the story? Mahabali? Vamana avatar, the small boy came. Isn't it? Small boy, 3 feet boy came to the Yajnashala. Is the Vamana. Mahabali, the king, was doing one yajna. Yajna means this. Another, don't do yajna. Anshu. Don't do yajna. Because if you say, I am doing yajna, anybody comes and asks you anything, you can't say no. Another yajna எல்லாம் பண்ணவே கூடாது. விஜயரங்கன் புரியுதா? சும்மா கேட்டுருங்க, யஜ்ஞாலாம் பண்ணாதீங்க. Because if you do yajna, you will be stuck like Mahabali. Because if you do an yajna means you take a vow. What is the vow? That no to give. You will never say no to giving. You give and give and give, but you become bankrupt. What is bankrupt? What is bankruptcy? Another method of going down. Yeah, bankruptcy. You have devised another method of going down is what? Don't do yajna. Because if you do yajna, you become bankrupt. But sir, in Bhagavad Gita only you said you should give carefully. Desha, Kala, Patra, Allam, Pattu, you have to give. It's in Bhagavad Gita, you only said that, no? Correct. What to do? Because you are like the Mullah Nasruddin. Clear? Keeping the buffalo as the yardstick. Now what to do? Yeah, when you keep buffalo as the yardstick, you have to say Desha, Kala, Patra and all that. True yajna is very difficult. So Mahabali took that vow. What is that vow he took? Yajna means I will not say no. Shankar. Will you do yajna? Known terror. Correct. Yeah, very correct. Yeah. Right. In the next thing, I'll send a WhatsApp message. Yeah. If anybody here says I'm doing yajna, I'll send a WhatsApp message immediately. Class nadakumbode I will send. Mahabali did that yajna. Vamana came. Vamana avatar came. And who's Vamana means short, 3 feet boy, isn't it? 3 feet boy. Oh, so when the 3 feet boy walked in, everybody stood up. Everybody in the Yajnashala stood up because that's the spiritual lustre. Tejas, we say, no? Spiritual lustre. Isn't it? பேர் தான் வச்சிருக்கிறாங்க தேஜஸ். தேஜஸ் தேஜஸ்வியா, அதுக்கு வீன்னு ஒரு இது வேற இல்லையா? மல்டிப்ளைடு தேஜஸ்ன்னு அர்த்தம் தேஜஸ்வின்னா. You know that's actual meaning. Tejas means multiplied tejas. Did you know the meaning when you kept the name? You didn't know, no? Correct. Otherwise, why would I have kept? So, Vamana is the tejas of Vamana. When he walked in, everybody stood up. And Mahabali he was so thrilled that the person has come. See, a giver will be happy when a receiver comes. Only a giver who just wants to say that I am giving will be worried when the taker comes. You know the difference? A true giver will be happy when the receiver comes. The person who wants to claim that he is a giver, but nobody should ask. I am ready to give, but nobody should come and ask me anything. Yeah, this is ego. You understand? Another way of going down, tumbling. How many ways we have to go bulty and go down? Ego knows all the tricks it has. Vamana came, Mahabali went and said, whatever you have come for is given. Shukracharya, the guru comes. I don't know what kind of a guru is he. Shukracharya, the guru comes and says, don't give. Don't make a promise to this person who has come. Mahabali said, I don't know. I don't know what you are saying because this is the rule and I have promised. And he asked Vamana, what do you want? He said, 3 feet land I want, he said. 3 feet land. According to whose measurement? Madras la moram podumbodhu 6 feet fellows will not be moram poda matanga. Have you ever seen that? 6 feet irukravanga moram potta enna agum? So there will be always a short person, a child sitting next. All the talking the lady will do. As soon as she is doing, the short person will start. Imagine 6 feet fellow, that fellow, moram potta enna varudhu? Bondi da, isn't it? So Mahabali asked 3 feet according to whose feet? Measurements 3 feet. Vamana said, my feet. According to my feet. Then what will you get? For 2 by 2 tile kuda kedikadu. 2 by 2 tile also you will not get if you measure with your 3 feet. So he said, I will give you 3 villages, 3 cities, 3 towns. He went on 3. Vamana said, adalla vana. Give me whatever I asked for, you give. He said, Tathastu, given. Immediately what happened? Vishwarupa he took. Isn't it? Vishwarupa he took. And you know that there is a temple in Kanchipuram for this god. You should go, and whenever you go, that side you should see. On the temple. Yeah, people won't even know that temple is there. Oh, you should see the Lord there, Vishnu, the Trivikrama. 1 feet here and 1 feet like this. So 3 feet. First feet, all known is measured. Second feet, all unknown is measured. And then he is asking Mahabali, where is the place for the 3rd feet? You said 3 feet. No, only 2. I have measured only 2. Where is the 3rd feet? He bowed down and said, my head. Because he understood. In front of that vastness, he understood that ego of him is much, much bigger than these 2. Ego that he carried is much, much so. He prostrated to him and said, place your head on. Technically, it's a wrong bull, no, because he is also part of the same world. You go into the Ascharya, Bakthi, few moments, and the ego takes over there also. Ego takes over there. Therefore, it is very symbolic. That Trivikrama is very, very symbolic of how the ego is much, much bigger than the galaxy, the multiverse. I don't know what all they talk nowadays, isn't it? Looks like fiction madri irkum. When they start talking, there are in one Jupiter, 1,300 Earths can be filled in. Say, na, comic, looks like a superstitious thing. It is. And yet it is true also for a person who knows. Wow. Ego takes over. They will follow. Formula number 7. Bhakti, you should know the sequence. Formula number 7 is you should know the sequence. Start with prayer, go through sincere effort, and end with prayer. That's why symbolically, all our classes, we start with the prayer. Why do we start as a prayer? Why do we start the class as a prayer? All classes start with a prayer, no? Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Saviryangaravavahai. Why do we start with the prayer? Prayer, effort, prayer. Prayer, effort, prayer. Why the prayer first? Because all endeavors will be faced with a vigna. Any endeavor that you undertake, there will be obstacles. So the first prayer is a recognition of the obstacles. And the obstacles is not going to deter your effort. Are you able to understand why? What is the significance of the first prayer? Any effort you undertake, you understand there is going to be vigna. Vigna means obstacles. So those obstacles, you know that there will be an obstacle, and those obstacles are not going to demotivate you. Those obstacles are not going to become a speed breakers. So first prayer is recognizing that. And then the effort. Having done all the effort with, that's why it's called prayatna, daksha, etc. Prayatna, daksha is effort. And then conclude with prayer. Why do you conclude with prayer? Because having done what you ought to do, one result will come. And what that result is, you don't know. Again, I repeat, having done with the prayer and prayatna and daksha, having done all this, a result will come. A result will come. Definitely a result will come. What that result is, you don't know. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma karma pala heturbuhu ma te sangostva karmani. What is that result? A result will come. What is that A result that you do not know? 4 types. Yeah, 4 types. So first prayer is for vigna. The second prayer is an acceptance of any of the 4, one for sure will come. Whatsoever comes, you take it as prasad. That's called prasada buddhi. Bhakti is gratitude expressed in thought, word, and deed. Gratitude expressed in thought, gratitude expressed in word, gratitude expressed in deed is called Bhakti. That's why we say it's not action, worshipful actions. It's not just effort, worshipful effort, prayerful effort. It's not just effort. People talk about effort, effort, effort. Ego is there. The moment you bring in worshipful effort, prayerful effort, what goes out? The ego goes out, but the effort continues. What goes out? The ego goes out. What will continue? The effort continues. Lastly, Bhakti is associated with no dvesha. Bhakti is associated with no dvesha means Abu Ben Adam. Remember the poem Abu Ben Adam? May his tribe increase, he said, isn't it? Abu Ben Adam, may his tribe increase. So the indication of Bhakti is what? Now, Abu Ben Adam is the indication of Bhakti. If you say, I am devoted to God, you can't certify yourself that I am a devotee of God. You can't self-certify that you are the doctor. No. Somebody has to certify. And who has to certify? God has to certify. And how what is God's certification? Oh, do you say you have bhakti? Dvesha nariyarge. Sir, that dvesha is towards adharma only, no. Again, you go back to the starting point. Are you able to follow? Because you are bringing in a legitimacy to you have brought in a legitimacy to your dvesha now. No, no. So the indication that you have bhakti is Abu Ben Adam. The indication that you have bhakti is Abu Ben Adam. All these you summarize in one word. What is called? All these 7:45 the breathless 9 o'clock varaikkum vandittom. All these put together in one word. What is that one word? Shraddha. All this put together in one word is called Shraddha. Shraddhavan labate jnanam. Shraddhavan means one who has lots of Shraddha. Dhanavan abdina naraiya wealth irukku, isn't it? Gunavan abdina. Similarly, Shraddhavan abdina enna artham? Tons and tons of Shraddha has to be there. The tons and tons of Shraddha comes by Bhakti, remembering the divine. So what he says, he picks up so many things. Everything is divine. Ahamatma Gudakesha. He already said that. But that is of no help. Therefore, what he does, he picks up each and everything. He picks up each and everything. By picking up each and everything, he looks at you and says, it's not that these are all specially designated as divine. These are all helps. These are all called divine because they help you to remember the divine. They help you to get inspired about the divine. They help you to get motivated about the divine. This is Bhakti in a nutshell. Bhakti Yoga in a nutshell. The difficulty is Bhakti is not understood like this is the difficulty. When you understand Bhakti in this manner, a lot of associated activities goes with Bhakti. What are the lot of associated activities that goes with Bhakti? Prayer, japa, rituals, yajna, temple, stuti, sahasranama, shodasa upachara, pilgrimages, ishta devata, ula devata. All this becomes part and parcel of one grand scheme of remembering the divine. With this background, if all this is done, Shraddha increases. Are you able to follow? Bhakti in practice has all these things. What is it? Prayer, japa, parayana, sahasranama parayana, something they keep repeating the name, some puja, some rituals, temple, Kapali temple. So wonderful there. You go there, oh my God. He's very different. No, Kapali is very different. Not other gods are not that one. Kapali is very different. You go there, it's so Kapali, stuti, praising the god, shodasa upachara. No, shodasa upachara you do, isn't it? Shodasa upachara means 16 types of upachara means taking care. Shodasa means 16 types. Mira. 16 types of upachara. Yeah. Welcoming, welcome drink, isn't it? Yeah. Washing the feet, welcome drink, hasranama, rest and all don't ask, Venkat. Adana romba customer. Don't do all that. Yeah. Nrityam darshayami, Gitam shravayami. You sing, you dance, you do everything. All is remembrance of, and then pilgrimages. It is part of the same thing. All these, without this understanding, becomes useless. All these, with this understanding, becomes part and parcel of. You may do it, you may not do it. Patram pushpam palam toyam. with the right understanding of bhakti, you may not need to do all this. Patram pushpam palam toyam is enough. But it is that patram pushpam palam toyam will work only for the one who has this understanding of what bhakti is. If you don't have this understanding of what bhakti is, you have to go through the grind. You have to go through the effort. Are you able to follow? This is called Bhakti Yoga. And this is Bhakti in a nutshell. First I thought, some 2-3 sessions I will talk on Bhakti, I thought first. I thought. Sana this thought came. And I thought, okay, try and finish it off in compress everything in one capsule. Next week, we will go back to verses. Venkat. Next week, we will go back to verses. Remember, what is Bhakti? That the formula for Bhakti, on what principle Bhakti works, the technique of Bhakti, the indication of Bhakti. All this is what we discussed. The definition, the technique, the indication, the practice. All put together in one word, you should call it as Shraddha. And what is the technique? Technique is prayer, effort, prayer. Prayer, effort, prayer. Prayer, effort, prayer. First prayer is for one reason. Second prayer is for another reason. With this, we conclude for today. All clarifications we'll take up next week.